Question 2 is actually writing a class. And we haven't had to write a class under this new AP system before, just because we've been dealing in the context of Grid World for our prior AP exams. This one's a little bit different. So we've got this guessing game. So we've got a guessing game which a player tries to guess a hidden word, and the hidden word contains only capital letters and a length known to the player. That's kind of important. We're going to need to know that. And I'll talk about why in just a few minutes. A guess contains only capital letters and has the same length as the hidden word. Basically, we're playing almost like a mastermind type game, where if we get a perfect match in a perfect spot, we're just going to say that's the letter. If that letter shows up not in this position but in some other position, we're going to put a plus. And if it's not in the word at all, then we kind of just give them a big And so the idea is that we could construct an object of type hidden word, and they'll use the get hint method to see if the values are true or false, and we're going to be returning a string each time this method is called. This get hint is actually going to be the bulk of what we're going to write in this program, but we still have to get the structure of the class done, and that's probably the hardest thing to just go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and talk through this real quick. So I want to create a class, so I'm going to just do public class of hidden word. So then I need to think, okay, what does a class have? A class has a target word that we have to try and guess. So this is going to be private string target. And we're going to have to kind of specify that in the constructor for this object. So our constructor is going to be public hidden word. And this is going to be passed to us as a parameter, so we're going to have string new target. And then in here, we're just going to initialize our variable. So we're going to say target gets new target. So very straightforward, and this is the easy part of the class. And for what I'm looking at here, I'm probably looking at 1 point for a class declaration, 1 point for a private state variable, and 1 point for successful writing this constructor. The hard part is actually going to be this get hint method, making sure that we do everything that we're supposed to do. And I'm just going to put little marks over here. We need to make sure that we put a star if nothing matches. We need to make sure that we put a plus if we're the right letter and the wrong spot. And we're going to need to make sure that we actually put the correct letter if it's the right letter, right spot. So we're going to continue this class over here. This is going to be our public string get hint of type, so we're going to have our string guess here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through our target and see which elements of guess match our target. So we're going to go ahead and set up some type of return string here. So I'm going to say string ret, and it's going to be just a string of length 0. And then I want to go through my target. So for int I gets 0, I is less than target.length, I plus plus. And then in here, I'm going to have some conditional statements. And the first thing I want to check is this state here, if I have the right letter in the right spot. So I'm going to need to take a look at my particular letter in target. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to say target dot substring starting at I and going to I plus 1, because I only want to peel one letter off of this. And charat would be okay, but charat's not in the AP subset, so I'm not going to put charat for my canonical answer. If I use charat, then I can use equals equals, but because this is a string, I have to use dot equals. And I want to know if it's equal to the corresponding element in guess. So this is going to be guess dot substring. And this is going to be at I to I plus 1, close parentheses. And if that is true, then I want to say ret gets ret plus an A, or not A, but whatever that is. Horrible, 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 horrible. So ret gets ret plus target dot substring I comma I plus 1. So this is the first thing we're going to check. Then it's else if. Now I want to check to see if this shows up anywhere in guess. So if, or actually I want to see if this particular letter in guess shows up anywhere in target. So if I reach this point, it's not that letter. So else if guess, actually no, because I want to know if target has the letter. So I want to use target dot index of. So target dot index of. And then here I'm going to check if guess dot substring at I comma I plus 1. And if this result, in other words, if the index of is greater than or equal to 0, if I get greater than or equal to 0, this shows up in the word. But because we're in the else, it's not at that particular spot. So I want to say ret gets ret plus, and I want to add the plus. So I'm going to add a plus to this string. And if I hit this else, then this else means it's not in the word. So then I want to say ret gets ret plus, and I want to put the asterisk. And so if I've gone through this for loop here, and this is the end of the for loop, then I've checked to see if they match, and I've taken care of it here on this line. I've checked to see if I've got a right letter wrong spot situation, and that's what I've got here. And then I'm checking to see if it's anywhere else in the word. If it's not in the word at all, then I'm adding the asterisk. And then once I've reached this point, I'm ready to return ret. And that's the end of my get hint method, and that's actually the end of my class. That's all that I really need here. So we had 3 points here for the hidden word, just for setting up the class, setting up our instance variable, setting up our constructor. The other 6 points, I think, are going to come from this method here. So I'm going to have a point for the method header with the correct parameter and the correct return type. We're probably looking at another point for having an item that we return successfully of type string. We're going to have to go through each of these elements here, looking at a point to see if we actually do hit the correct letter in the correct spot, looking at a point for the letters that's the right letter in the wrong spot, and a point for, you know what, it's not in the word, and then a point for making sure this actually does correctly construct it all together. So this final point is going to be, you know, yes, this if statement works, yes, this if statement works, yes, this if statement works, and we've successfully gone through all of the elements. So we're probably, this point is probably going to be successfully going through all the elements in target for that. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points for this method.